matter what, we come together for the good of our constituents, and I'm proud and honored to lead the People's House of the New York State Legislature.
The health and protection of the human beings that live in our districts is our responsibility.
Senator Douglas's words for us today, I quote, "If there is no struggle, there is no progress."
If you want equity to happen, then this is where it happens.
All of us have a responsibility to the greater good.
The House will come to order.
Hey there once again, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Assembly Update. I am Mike Falvo, and joining me once again, one of my favorites. I do have to admit that. I'm a little biased here. You're one of my favorite guests, Assemblyman Jeffrey Dinowitz from the 81st Assembly District in the Bronx. How are you?
One of your favorites?
Okay, you are my favorite.
Okay.
You are the favorite.
Okay, I could live with that.
No,
Okay.
no offense to any other Assembly members who are watching right now.
Good morning. It's
Good
to be
morning.
here.
Good morning. It's always a pleasure to have you. Now it's everybody's favorite season of the year here in the Capital Region, at least within these couple of blocks anyway. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Right now we have a couple other issues that you want to discuss, mostly dealing with safety, and it could be gun safety, traffic safety, and so on. So let's start very quickly with traffic safety. These are things we talked about momentarily offline. Tell us a little bit about what your priorities are as far as traffic safety is concerned within the district.
Well, one of the most frequent complaints we get are about speeding cars. I mean, everybody at some point goes over the speed limit. We know that, but there are some cars that are really going fast and do it all the time. But there's been a push by the city in recent years to really try to slow cars down. That's why the speed limit on city streets was reduced from 30 to 25, and some people would like to reduce it even greater than that to 20 miles per hour. But right now the speed limit is 25 miles per hour. A couple of years ago, the legislature and the governor authorized the city to significantly increase the number of speed cameras throughout the city. I think the number now, it must be around 2,000. It's much higher than it used to be. And the speed cameras, if you go past the speed camera and exceed the speed limit by an amount greater than 10 miles per hour over the limit, it'll flash, you will get a ticket. So if it's a 25 zone, if you're going 36, you'll get a ticket in the mail. It's not a moving violation in the sense that you don't get points on your license because the camera doesn't know who's driving. So it really goes against the car, but presumably the owner has to pay the ticket. But there are a lot of cameras. I know in my district, cameras seem to have popped up all over the place, and I get calls quite often about somebody who complains, I didn't know there was a speed camera there. Well, people usually find out about it when they speed. And I'll admit, 36 doesn't sound like a huge speed, but in fact, if somebody gets hit by a car, their chances of survival from a car going at 25 is much, much greater than at 35. So it's important not to go too fast. Under the law, the speed camera tickets have to be within a quarter of a mile radius of a school. So it's the violation is actually called speeding in a school zone. But the truth is, the cameras aren't always right near a school. So like right where I live, they're right now they're on Riverdale Avenue between 231st and let's say Manhattan College Parkway. There are 4 cameras in either direction, 3 in one direction, 1 in the other direction. That's a lot. We got to complain about a new camera on Henry Hudson Parkway going south. I mean, they're all over the place. So, and I can't say that I've never gotten one of those tickets because that would not be telling the truth. But we really have to make an effort, and it's not that hard. Don't go past 25, but if you're going to go past 25, don't go past 35, that's for sure, because you won't get the ticket. Now, in my area and in another area of my district in Norwood, in addition to there may be being speed cameras, we're in what's called the neighborhood slow zone. So if there was ever to be a camera in one of those slow zones where the speed limit is 20, that means if you exceed 30, you're going to get one of those tickets. And I know it's really irritating to people. Nobody likes them. In fact, they hate them. But the reality is it does tend to affect behavior. I think if you get a ticket at a particular camera, you're going to tend to go more slowly in that area, but hopefully everywhere. And if you don't go more slowly, if you get a ticket again at the same camera, then, well, that's not a good thing. But there is no question that these speed cameras have saved lives. And we have in this video also a limited number of red light cameras, not nearly as many as the speed cameras. Excuse me. And there may be an increase in that. I mean, I would support an increase in the number of red light cameras. And again, if you don't go through the red light, if you don't speed, it doesn't affect you. So no one should be mad if any of those cameras are there. They just have to drive safely and drive, according to the rules.
And when I was in the service, I was stationed overseas in England, and the one thing that they had in England was they had speed cameras both in the villages, but they also had them on the highways. Mm-hmm. Do you think that something on the highways as far as speed cameras and things along those lines could come to New York State? If they did, what do you think the impact would be?
On highways, my observation is that most people tend to go beyond the speed limit. And I would say most people tend to exceed the speed limit by an amount greater than 10 miles per hour. I think if there were cameras on the highways, there would be a massive number of tickets issued. But I don't know that there's political support to do that right now. The argument for the cameras on city streets was that they were all going to be in close proximity to schools, and so that was an easier sell. Highways, that's another story. But I mean, when I drive to Albany, I'm sure that many cars are going well beyond 80 miles per hour, and the speed, I think, above 25 miles beyond the city or so, the speed limit goes from 55 to 65. So if you're going at 80 or 85, that's too much. That's too much, and it could be very dangerous. But right now, they're in the city, and they have to be authorized by the state. The city, believe it or not, does not have the authority on its own to do it. They can't go beyond the number of cameras that's allowed right now. Like many things, it's the state has the power to make that decision. So yeah, people don't like it. Just drive safely. But that's really only part of the problem. In our neighborhood, the thing that really bothers people are the cars with with the loud mufflers, the ones that are going fast, the ones that are doing donuts. That's really what bothers a lot of people, including me. It's really a quality of life issue. People are sick of it. It's since the pandemic, it's just gotten out of control, and there seems to be very little enforcement with respect to that. For whatever the reason, I'm not going to even speculate, but I don't think people get stopped very often for committing those kind of violations.
And, let's shift gears a little bit. We talk about traffic safety. Let's talk about other areas of safety as well. I mean, just recently, Nashville, Tennessee, another tragic day for youngsters in school. And, a lot of people are beginning to say it's just another day in America, which we shouldn't be saying, which, that's a different discussion for a different day. But what are your views, as far as school safety for our kids and so on?
Well, in terms of guns, I mean, my position is well known. I think we need to crack down hard by strengthening the laws with respect to guns. I'm not suggesting that nobody be allowed to own a gun or anything like that, but there are many people out there who think that their right to have an AR-15 is more important than keeping children from being murdered. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. These school shootings are largely done by people who are carrying the same kinds of weapons, and many people don't want to do anything about that. And children, and other people obviously, but children are dying all the time. And so the only conclusion I can come to is that they think they're owning their, war type gun outweighs the importance of protecting children. I mean, I don't know what kind of people, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. and they'll hide behind the Second Amendment. But if you don't think it's worth trying to save the lives of children, then I mean, I can't even put into words what I think of that. But in our neighborhoods, in the city, in the past 3 years since the pandemic, there's been a huge increase in shootings, in people with guns, especially young people. Those numbers have actually started to go down. Murders, shootings have actually gone down, from what I understand, in the past year. So hopefully that trend will continue. But we just had a couple of shootings in my district just within the past week. In one of our most beautiful buildings, Waldo Gardens, from what I understand from the police, 2 people ran into the vestibule of that building on Waldo Avenue and were shot at by somebody else. I think they were going in there to get away basically from them. Fortunately, it doesn't seem like nobody was killed, thankfully, and it didn't involve anybody from the building itself, but it's still a very scary thing, and hopefully the police will catch them. There are cameras in the vestibule, there are cameras on the street there, so hopefully the police can figure out who did it and arrest them. But there was even a worse shooting at Marble Hill, where I think several people were shot at, and it's too much. It shouldn't happen at all. So even though the number of shootings have gone down, the fact that they happen, that's no small comfort. And if somebody's killed, what good does it do them that shootings citywide have gone down? So there really has to be, and I know there is, a concerted effort to address that. And I think that's part of the reason why the numbers have gone down. I think part of the reason why the numbers have started to go down is because the pandemic is abating. It's still with us, but really since the pandemic in March of 2020, it's kind of like the whole world went crazy, and crime went up, and everything bad went up since that time. But now things are hopefully getting back to a better place. And everything we can do to help that, of course, we have to do. But I think some things are just bigger than all of us. And I think the fact that the pandemic it's not gone, but it's not nearly what it was. I think that's a big plus. But it's a constant battle to try to keep our neighborhoods safe. And people have a right to be safe and to feel safe. And if they don't feel safe, then something is really wrong.
No, I agree with you 100%. We have about a minute left. Really quickly, like I mentioned at the very beginning, it's everybody's favorite week here in the Capital Region, Budget Week. We're coming in the home stretch, if you will, towards the deadline. What kind of roadmap do we have ahead of us as far as budget passage?
I'm not sure that this is the week we're passing the budget. I hope it is, but today is Tuesday. Mm-hmm. The budget is due by the end of Friday, and it doesn't feel like that's going to happen. It could happen, but it doesn't feel that way. There are a number of issues, largely non-budget related issues, that are dividing the legislature and the governor, and we have a lot of work to do. And I don't think I would call it my favorite week, but hopefully something good will come out of all of it.
Well, once again, it's always a pleasure to have you with us from the 81st Assembly District in the Bronx, New York, Assemblymember Jeffrey Dinowitz. Sir, always a pleasure.
Good to be
I'm
here.
Mike Falvo. Thank you for joining us.